Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I'm a Western Practical Astrologer. All right, so in today's video, we are going to be talking all about this upcoming lunar eclipse in the sign of Libra, taking place on the 25th of March. How are we doing today? Welcome. Hello to Red Nappy Summer. Welcome to you. I hope you are enjoying your weekends. Okay, it's a Sunday evening here. But let's just dive in then. Let's get into the astrology because I do actually have quite a bit to talk about. And I hope with the horoscopes today, I really hope that you find them to be helpful. You will see why. Hi, Alexander. How are you? Let me just check. Let me just check my internet. Thought we were good? Thought we were good? Hopefully we are. Just give me one moment, folks. Thank you for your patience. Hello to Misbehaving. Hi, how are you doing? How are you doing, Alexander? And hello to Chelsea. Welcome to you. I hope you are all doing well. Hope you're having a lovely weekend. Okay, so according to this, the internet should be good, but let me know if there is anything a bit strange, okay? Because I thought I picked up on something there. Okay, right, so let's present this information. Your apartment is full of flies. Oh, how do you handle that? And why are there so many flies in your apartment? Curious. But I'm good, thank you. I'm actually doing pretty well. I've had a lovely weekend. You know, it's been very relaxing, very calming. I rearranged my wardrobe from winter to spring. And I've been listening to a lot of Indian flute music. I find that music is so therapeutic, super relaxing, helps me center myself. Misbehaving, you said that you have a Libra rising and you're also experiencing your Chiron return. Okay, interesting. I hope your Chiron return is treating you well. You've got this. And you say, Alexander, that you live in a rural area. Okay, so you don't live in the cities or anything like that. Ah, I gotcha. Okay, so lunar eclipse in Libra. Just to let you know, though, that I do have some astrology products if you're interested. So you can find these products over at my website, hannahselsewhere.com. And as well, you can join the Patreon. You can gain access to a new video early over at the Patreon, ad-free, and you will also gain access to behind the scenes content. There's actually a lot of content up at the moment. A equinox. I've done a few tarot readings over at the Patreon. It's a good time. I enjoy doing the daily forecasts as well. And I do want to say thank you so much to my patrons for all of your support. Right, so look here. Here are some of the key parts we're going to be looking at, the key information we're going to be exploring. First things first. Is my internet going again? I hope not. But if we were to remove all of the asteroids, we would get this bucket shape. Okay, so we're going to talk about that today within your horoscopes. And then when we look closer at things, the sun and moon are opposite at 5 degrees. Okay, so this lunar eclipse is happening at 5 degrees in Libra. And then we also see here that the dispositor of the moon, which is Venus. Venus is Jupiter and Uranus, very harmonious in this way, harmonious energy flow. Also notice that Mars, the dispositor of the sun, and also all of the Aries energy that is in Pisces would have just entered Pisces at the time. And then we also notice here that Jupiter is creating a trine to Ceres. Okay, so there's some Earth energy going on. And also look here, Moon is creating a trine to Pluto, and at the same time, the Sun is creating a sextile to Pluto. So we're going to break this down today. But before we do, just a reminder. So have you noticed that the full moons have been happening at 5 degrees quite a bit, and new moons have been happening at 20 degrees quite a bit. Right, so with 5 degrees looks at things like freedom, adventure, exploration, change. So there is something quite freeing about this eclipse. And there's also a part of it that requires us to adapt. And it's also a social number, the number 5. So Libra is also quite a social sign. Even here, this eclipse is happening within the Libra decan. Okay, so the sign of Libra, and then within this decan. So Venus then in this regard, and this further adds to what we're going to be talking about. There's going to be more of that intensity with respect to Libran themes, again, which we're going to get into. And then just a reminder, lunar eclipses, right? So we think about eclipses, powerful and strong. And so with this being a lunar eclipse, we're looking at significant releases, powerful releases, a significant time to let go, a significant time to move on, a powerful time to let the past stay in the past, this type of stuff, or perhaps bringing the past up as a way to release, as a way to heal, as a way to move forward. But also asking ourselves, what is holding you back, right? So we're going to be focusing on the Libra house in this way. So make sure that you look at your chart, see which house Libra rules within your chart, and we are going to get into it whilst we explore your horoscopes. But also lunar eclipses look at rewards that we can reap, right? Reward, a major chapter in our lives. It's also a good time then to try our very best to reflect, to relax, to go inward, right? Rest, evaluate. Even eclipse season itself, right? So we're going to have the lunar eclipse in Libra on the 25th of March, and then we're also going to have the solar eclipse in Aries on the 8th of April, which is going to be very strong, and it's also going to involve Chiron. Okay, we're going to get into that closer to the time, but really, truly, during eclipse season, it is so necessary that we take care of ourselves. It's likely that we can struggle with sleeping, we can struggle with overthinking, perhaps especially with this eclipse being in Libra, an air sign, so there could be overthinking. There could be just the internal thoughts that we just find hard to switch off. And so I think it's important to be able to rest when we can. It can feel like very overwhelming during eclipses, but hey, at the same time, energetic, exciting, accelerating, right? Even the number 5 carries this adventurous vibration to it. It carries, even think about the sun, right? So the sun is in, with the sun there within the Aries decan, and Aries is very much an energetic sign. So we could feel inspired, we could feel passionate during this time too. So it's kind of how you find that balance, right? Which is very Libra. So I wanted just to let you know a couple of things to do with the eclipses. Especially in the case of Aries and Libra. set of eclipses in these signs was from 2013 until 2016. So maybe look to both of your Libra house and the Aries house to see, okay, what was happening there? What was going on with respect to the Aries Libra axis within your chart? So, thinking about the self, which would be Aries, versus the other, which would be Libra. Thinking about your identity and your life path to do with Aries versus partnership and relationships to do with Libra. Now, until March 2025. So, here we are again. But of course, this time around, the North Node is in Aries. So, there's a stronger emphasis on, okay, being a leader, being a pioneer, being a trailblazer. But do keep in mind that the South Node is just as important. It's really about as well how we strengthen our relationships during this time, and thinking about the lessons and the key sort of notes that come up with respect to our partnerships. So the lunar eclipse in Libra opened the last set of eclipses in these signs. So this was back in 2013. And that was October time. Venus was actually in Sagittarius at that time. So again, just think back to that time, maybe around October 2013, there was a stronger emphasis on freedom and adventure and being just free spirited, when it came to our relationships and partnerships. Even think about how the North Node would have most likely been in Libra at that time as well. Just trying to reflect a little bit on my own life and, how things played out back then. Interesting when I think about it. Okay, so Aries will close these eclipses, and Mars is going to be in Cancer at the time. So I want you to keep in mind this year, right? So what we're going to experience is there's going to be a solar eclipse in Libra, and that's going to happen around September time of this year. And then you see Mars is going to retrograde in the signs Cancer and Leo. It's going to retrograde firstly in Leo. It's going to start from Leo. This is toward the end of the year, which I'm sure I'll make a video about it. But then it's going to retrograde into Cancer. And that's going to be a long retrograde, right? Because with Mars retrogrades, it's quite a long time. Remember the Mars in Gemini retrograde that we experienced back in 2022? Yeah? No, 2021. No, I'm getting my dates all wrong. It's just, yeah. Let me think for a second when that was. It was 2022. So it was correct. But do you remember that? It just, maybe this is why I'm getting my dates muddled up, because I'm thinking that it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. Sure, it doesn't. But anyway, Mars is going to be in Cancer when the eclipses come to a close. So with the Mars retrograde in Cancer, it's going to be an interesting time to sort of think about what's going to come up within our direction and the next step and our goals and everything else. Right. So this lunar eclipse, this one we're talking about today, notice how both Venus and Mars are in Pisces. So Mars is the dispositor of the sun, Venus is the dispositor of the moon, and they're both in Pisces. So there's actually a lot here to do with reflection, contemplation, our healing, spiritual wisdom, spiritual guidance, listening to really what our heart is saying, taking some time to go within, to dream, to imagine, to visualize, to create from the soul, okay? To even think about and consider what is possible for us. And then when we look forward, we notice that there will be a solar eclipse happening well, 2 weeks after this one, and that's going to be in Aries. So that's going to be on the 8th of April. Mars will still be in Pisces at that time. So there's still more of the Mars and Pisces energy we're going to be working with. And then the solar eclipse in Libra, that will happen around September. Venus will be in Scorpio. So the dispositor of that eclipse will be in Scorpio. So that is going to be interesting indeed. So just to let you know, there's some important dates to keep in mind. So let's get on to this eclipse. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. Thanks for being here. Welcome. I hope you are doing well. I'm just going to continue reading because there is quite a bit of information to get through. And then if I have time, of course, I will look through your comments toward the end, okay? Right, so let's break this down. Let's firstly think about how this is happening at 5 degrees. So there was a new moon in Libra, September 2022, and that was around 2 degrees. So that was when we set intentions, okay? That was when new beginnings, a new cycle happened within our Libra house. And then fast forward to the first quarter moon in Libra, that was June 2023, and that was 4 degrees. So that was a time period when the intentions we set, September 2022, were challenged, but we were also given an opportunity to strengthen such matters. And therefore, this is about asking ourselves, what is being illuminated during this full moon? What is coming to fruition? What is coming to light? Clarity, perhaps, for many of us. Epiphanies, realizations, recognizing what we've been holding on to for a little too long and what we would like to let go of, what we feel we have moved on from. So Libra, then, we got to think about Libra. So what is this letting go stuff to do with? What is the releasing to do with? What are we shining a light on? Well, Libra is about how we relate to one another, how we connect, how we share. Libra is very much a sign of sharing. It's about exchange. What is the exchange between you and others? How do you harmonize? But also, where do you not see eye to eye? And how can balance be restored? What can you place on the scales of Libra, but also what can you take off the scales? How can you weigh things out? So kind of think about that in a practical sense. Think about your own life. Think about your day-to-day. Think about just all the practical things that you do and where it is in your life that perhaps you're thinking right now, I could do with, maybe taking this off or maybe adding something else on. And we will get into that during your horoscopes. So Venus is in Pisces and asks us to dig a little deeper, actually. Libra can often, whilst Libra can be highly intelligent and sophisticated, a very sophisticated sign, a sign that can see both or all sides to a situation, Libra can also be a sign that can come across as a little bit superficial. So Venus being in Pisces says, well, hold on a second. We actually want to dig a little deeper. We want to go beyond the obvious. We want to really dive deeper into the unconscious. Now, naturally, we think about Libra, and Libra can also indicate the shadow, right? There's even think about how Libra is tied to the 7th house, and it's within the 7th house that we learn to integrate the shadow. But Pisces takes that to a whole other psychological level. We kind of get into our suffering, our pain, our misery, our sorrow. We also, we also get into things that we deeply, deeply yearn for and deeply, deeply desire. And it comes from our hearts. It comes from our hearts. It's not just about the sort of everyday stuff. It's from a much deeper place. It's from wisdom. It's spiritual stuff here. And With Venus also being in Pisces, our heart's desires can be felt through a lens of fantasy, through a lens of being romantic or romanticizing. This can be a good opportunity just to let your mind wander, to let yourself dream, to let yourself go to those mysterious places, to play around in the imaginative world, to play around with symbols and art, and to see the beauty in your environment, right? Even think about this in combination. Libra and Pisces in a combination really suggests beauty and creativity and being artistic. And this is a question then of, when we relate it back to partnership, what do you dream of within partnership? What do you see? What do you visualize? This is a soft and gentle approach. It can even be indicated here that there is a softness, a type of gentleness to this eclipse. But the Pisces part of it, I feel, it's highlighting how we approach relationships, how we can approach them in a soft way, in a soothing way. Pisces is also highly patient. Pisces is such a patient sign. So perhaps this is about being patient with ourselves and being patient with others. Also, practicing forgiveness, not just of others or toward others, but toward ourselves. Perhaps there is a release, some type of renewal when it comes to forgiveness and our attitudes toward it. Now, Saturn will also conjunct Venus. So this is also about being adult-like. This is about maturity. How have you matured? What have you outgrown? It's an interesting one because, of course, the sun is still in Aries, and that Aries energy can be so childlike, so childlike. But the Saturn part of it really wants us to commit and to see the long approach, to bring it to. This is about being in certain relationships, being in certain financial situations, or in certain creative practices for the long haul. There's even a strong emphasis on our creativity and our joy and our pleasures, right? This is certainly a lunar eclipse that is welcoming our ability to notice the good in things and the pleasure in things, to be sensual as well. There's this side to this eclipse, I feel, that's going to welcome sensuality healing. Let me just, the next slide. Okay, perfect. Right, so moving on to the next slide. The thing about the sun opposite the moon is, yes, this can suggest this confrontational energy, right? It can sort of feel like it's me against them, or it's you against them, or it's me against the other kind of stuff. But it's also about trying to communicate, trying to reach some type of compromise. It's about a little bit of give, a little bit of take. This is about you, but it's also about others. So it's like, it's about you, but it's also not about you. It's about them, but it's also not about them. It's me versus we. It's my independence versus our partnership and what we're trying to build together. But here is the thing about it as well, is we've got the nodes involved, right? We've got the north node in Aries and we've got the south node in Libra. Aries is saying, okay, this is about us headed towards our wants, our goals, our aims. This is about the journey of self. Recognize as well that this lunar eclipse, it's part of a much bigger story, isn't it? Because we've been experiencing eclipses in these signs already. So this is pretty much another activation point within the journey itself. But as we are continuing along our path and we're looking at self-discovery and we're following this, direction of leadership and independence, the South Node in Libra also comes along and says, okay, you're easing up on times when you agree, when you mean to disagree. You're also easing up on times when too much dependency is being performed within relationships. But remember, the North Node can help strengthen your partnerships too. Be cautious of glorifying too much selfishness, too much of this me, 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 I want, I want, I want, I want, I want. The South Node says, remember conflict resolution. Remember that you can reach healthy ways of compromising or healthy ways of managing anything that is uncomfortable within partnership. But it's also about recognizing what can't be compromised. But hey, ultimately, this is an eclipse of truth. It's an eclipse of justice. This is about really weighing out what you want, taking a good hard look at what's working, what's not working, what can you improve, okay, what just isn't going to work anymore, and what can't really be improved. How can you be truthful with yourself and others about partnership and about what you want? There's a lot of judgment, I suppose, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean just really taking time to judge a situation for what it is, to be somewhat factual about it and rational about it, and to as I say, you weigh out what's going on. You can make pros and cons lists, for example. So if I move on to the next slide. Hello to Rachel. Welcome to you. Hi. So, therefore, this is a lunar eclipse that says, what is holding you back from settling things within partnership? Ooh, that's an interesting one, because I feel even with so much Aries energy, right? This could very well be where we're just so childish about how we manage things, about how we address partnerships. But I feel as if Saturn and Venus are adding to a mature approach. So, truly, what do you want versus what other people want? Can you welcome peace? Can you make healthy adjustments? This indeed is a powerful time when it comes to these matters. But this is also the ending of an old story, an old narrative which no longer serves us within partnership, right? The moon is tied to our unconscious habits, our habitual patterns. So this is about letting go of an unconscious habit, which essentially blocks us from joy, blocks us from happiness. The sun blocks us from our direction, from our path, our purpose. And the sun being in Aries says, find joy in being a leader, being able to direct our lives, taking the first step. The sun is exalted in Aries. Remember, so the sun performs so well in Aries. This is confident energy. This is the type of energy that says, I can do this. But this is also a time period, if you think about how we're coming into this new astrological year, and it's like, oh, vitality. The sun is coming back. We're feeling healthy. We're feeling energetic. We're feeling alive. There's so much purpose. Oh my gosh, a reason to live, a reason to be alive, to enjoy this life, to thrive. It's getting even excited to get excited during this time. But it's also about patience. It's also about recognizing the people who are with us, who are there to support us, who are there along the way, who have been a part of our journey. And so it's a good opportunity to reflect on our unconscious habits and our emotional needs within partnership. Possibly some of us will be moving on from certain relationships, partnerships, or just attitudes toward them, or perhaps thinking about ways that we think about them or ways that we handle them. These things are changing. This is about moving on from that old narrative, from that old way of doing things, from that old way of approaching things. But it's also about closing a significant chapter, a chapter that perhaps you will remember for years to come. So be courageous, be bold, be brave. This is what Aries is urging us to do. But to get to that point, we need to let go. Let me just go to the next slide. Hello, Erica. Welcome to you. Hi. So here's the other thing about it. Pluto. Oh, Pluto. Hey, Pluto. You want to play? So yeah, Moon is making a trine to Pluto, and the Sun is also making a sextile to Pluto. Right. So these are major aspects being created to Pluto. What is this? The cracking of our ego. What is this? Letting down our defenses. Being honest as well about our defenses. Being honest about the ways in which we cope with things. What are the ways, that we defend ourselves, our defense mechanisms, right? Maybe there's something to be said about these. And this is the rebirth of such matters by becoming aware. This is a moon of great awareness. Even think about Pisces season right now. We're coming to the end of Pisces season, and then we're into Aries season, and then boom, we've got an eclipse happening. But Pisces is urging us, I feel, to really go within and to practice mindfulness, to be mindful of our emotions, to be mindful of our thoughts, and recognizing, that it's how conscious we can become that can really influence and impact how we face life. So this is about a rebirth. This is about experiencing transformations, which could very well be uncomfortable. It's not comfortable, for example, to admit when we've messed up, when we got something wrong. It may not be a comfortable thing whenever somebody comes up to us and says, hey, I didn't like what you did there. It made me feel this type of way. And then you sort of get into that discussion, that disagreement, right? But it's also through disagreements and it's through challenge that we can grow. And I feel that this is what is also being activated here. What must die within the self in order for us to become empowered? What is holding you back from saying the thing, from being direct, from being bold, from being courageous enough to go up to someone or to address someone in this just very forthright way? What is holding you back? And it's scary. I know it's scary. It's not nice to think about, especially with Chiron being in Aries still there too, right? And we will experience this Mercury retrograde, which is up and coming, but still, this is about changes happening within the psyche, addressing our buried and our trapped emotions. This is an eclipse of freedom. Freedom through the unconventional, through rising up and questioning the status quo. So there could be some more collective themes coming up, but also just on an individual level, focusing on our own path and how others are a part of it, as we are also a part of theirs. And then with Mars in Pisces, spiritual truths about how we initiate and act, the honesty of our healing and our spiritual growth. Take time, even whilst Mars is in Pisces, throughout this eclipse season, take time to really consider, wow, like I've really changed. I've really proved myself when it comes to my spiritual lessons and my spiritual truths. We'll especially see more of this as Mars starts to conjunct Saturn. And I feel as if Saturn has a big role to play in all of this because Saturn's been in Pisces for the past year, really urging us to be emotionally mature, to be wise, to try to come from a place of spiritual awareness. So I feel as if Mars and Venus just add more to the story. Venus brings this enjoyment, this pleasure, this sensuality, and then Mars brings this drive, this rawness, this courage, this I can do this. Like I realize how much I've changed and I've healed and I've outgrown previous versions of myself. But it's also asking, is there anything else you've still not integrated yet? Venus and Mars in Pisces during this lunar eclipse are very insightful indeed. Yes, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Okay, so let's also explore how we've got Venus and Saturn sextile Jupiter and Uranus, and then we also have Jupiter trine Ceres. The wisdom of Jupiter is both a the wisdom of Jupiter in both a spiritual and material way. Thinking about how there is spiritual wisdom to be gained through the physical world, through the material world, but this is also about recognizing how that is aligned with our inner world, our spiritual world. Oh, the inner and outer worlds. Going within, but also recognizing how the within world has something to say about our external world and vice versa. Patience is a virtue, though, with Jupiter and Taurus. This is a big thing that I've been talking about, I feel, for a long time. But really, Jupiter and Taurus has been so much about patience as a virtue. We're just sort of plodding along, keeping our heads down, putting in the work, just remaining calm. Even though things have been hard, has not been easy. No. Still, Jupiter sextile Venus is quite a harmonious energy flow, highlighting, indicating joyous feelings, loving feelings, feeling appreciative, right? Think about it this way too. Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces, and it's the dispositor of all of this Pisces energy that we're going to get during this lunar eclipse. So Jupiter here with Pisces, I mean, it indicates that Pisces is also very expansive and can be this happy-go-lucky sign and can often have these feelings of, I am blessed, I am gifted, I have everything I could ever possibly need. You know, it's the whole thing of positive affirmations and prayers and mantras and just going within and meditating, all of the spiritual stuff, And I have really been enjoying it, especially the past week since Venus has been in Pisces. It's just felt so refreshing, even though physically, materially, it has been challenging. It has been so challenging. But oh my goodness, when you stop and you really reflect on the little things, right? The little things and what you're really grateful for, you're like, wow, I appreciate that so much. You know, something as small as a cup of coffee is just my morning coffee, and just taking my time and sipping it and appreciating it, listening to the Indian flute music, just so soothing, so calming. So indeed, this is a lunar eclipse that also says, okay, what are you grateful for? This is about coming from the heart, extending our hearts, healing, being generous, being desiring, being desirable, showing compassion. This is a lunar eclipse of morality as well. Our morals will certainly be heightened or like activated in a way. It's like, yeah, listen to your moral compass, listen to your inner guide, your conscience. Our conscience may very well speak during this lunar eclipse, and it's going to guide us in remarkable ways. Our intuition is going to guide us. All of this Pisces energy is so much about this. Then Jupiter making the trine to Ceres. Okay, what is this about? Well, Ceres is so much about self-worth. Ceres is so much about healthy attachments. So this can indicate having this secure attachment, this secure self-worth. So what does that mean? You know, it essentially means being able to come to a place of, I feel secure within, and I'm not going to be shaken. Taurus energy, Capricorn, right? These earth signs, it's like, I'm not moving, especially Taurus, fixed earth. I'm not going to be shaken. Whatever the storm is out there, I'm not going to let it stir me. I'm not going to let it shake me. I'm going to remain firm. I'm going to remain patient. And I'm going to know my worth. The mutual reception then can highlight good deeds, pleasant offerings, rituals, routines are highlighted. And then Saturn adds stability and building solid foundations, which are consistent and realistic. So, you know, it could be that certain spiritual practices are formed around this time, and it's those spiritual practices that can be prolonged, right? That we can keep up with them over a long period of time. There's that consistency. We're so much more in tune. We're so much more aware of, hold on a second, I can feel this. I know of this feeling all too well. Let me bring it back to center. Let me focus here. Jupiter and Taurus has been so amazing for this. I can't. And then Uranus, right? So Uranus adds outside of the box ideas and breaking free from old outdated systems. So this is also about realizing around this time period that, hey, what's not working? Okay, that's not working. Let's try something different. Completely different, completely new. Let's freshen this up. Let's innovate. Let's change something. And then the whole point of it is so that you feel a lot more content from within. You feel a lot more settled. It's recognizing, oh, okay, something is not feeling right. Okay, what can I do here? What can I shake up here? Then again, of course, with Uranus often can't be controlled anyway. So it's just sort of like, okay, there could be unpredictable situations that come up. But I feel as if that Pisces energy gives us enough flow and fluidity to go with it. Okay? To go with it, to be calm about any shakeups, any sudden changes, any surprises that happen that are very shocking. It's like, okay, yep, I see it, but you know what? I'm going to bring it to my inner world and I'm going to breathe. I'll get through this. We'll make it happen. And then at the same time, Vesta is making that square to Neptune. So this is also about protecting our spiritual practices. Okay. So we have went through the astrology during this eclipse. Let's now get into your horoscopes. Thank you for being here, everyone. And I want to say, Anne Hedy, is it Anne Hedy? I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. You say that your birthday is on the 25th of March, on the day of the eclipse. Happy birthday to you. I hope you have a lovely birthday. And Christina, hello to you. Congo, hello to you. For Lady Liberty, hello to you. Just hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. And Jeannie Vibes, hello to you. And Joshua, hello to you. Okay, so let's get into Aries. Just give me a moment. All right, so Aries, let's do this. Right, so notice here for you, Aries, that, well, firstly, just to say, there is a bucket shape happening during this eclipse in the sky. And the lunar eclipse is the handle of the bucket. So, what I kind of want you to imagine when it comes to the bucket is it's as if you're carrying the rest of the energy in the bucket. And so the handle of the bucket has a lot of power and it has a lot of strength. So in your case, Aries, there seems to be a lot of power and strength being derived into your relationships, your partnerships, agreements, contracts, clients, customers, these types of things. So I think that this is about what will be illuminated during this lunar eclipse for you will speak to your relationship needs and the needs of others. I feel as if for you, Aries, this is very much about how the balance can be restored when it comes to partnerships. But in order for that balance to be restored, it's about recognizing what needs to be taken off and what needs to be put on to the scales. And I think as well, because this is an eclipse, right? So this is a lunar eclipse. And so it looks at closing a chapter, it looks at a mighty release. And then with the south node, that's so much about letting go. This then is looking at, Aries, for you, a letting go, a powerful, notable release when it comes to how you behave within relationships, what you bring to the party, but then equally what other people are bringing to the equation, and how can you reach a resolution? How can you make adjustments? Now, this isn't about leaning into too much dependency or people pleasing or being fearful of rocking the boat, for example. This is also about addressing relationships in this gracious way, in a diplomatic way. This is about being honest with yourself about your needs and other people's needs. And then if we think about how Venus is in the 12th house there, right? So Venus is the dispositor of the eclipse. That is highlighting just the importance of taking your time. Take your time, Aries, to reflect, to go inward when it comes to this stuff. Now, this is the thing about it as well. The sun is in your sign, right? So happy birthday to all of you solar Aries out there. But the thing about you then, Aries, is that it can be tempting to sort of come at things from this place of urgency, as you can, you have the tendency of doing this, of just sort of jumping forward, jumping straight in, jumping head first into things. And I feel as if Mars being in the 12th house for you is actually saying and indicating, pause for a moment here, pause for a moment. Maybe there's something you haven't quite thought of yet. There's something that you haven't quite discovered yet. Maybe this is looking at, Aries, for example. This is just one example. Maybe this is looking at, okay, there could be a certain job opportunity that comes up, right? Through partnership, through business, a business deal with the lunar eclipse. But perhaps what this is indicating with the fact that Venus and Mars are in Pisces, this is saying, don't just take the first opportunity that comes your way. Maybe this is about knowing sort of really what it is that you want and having that ability to weigh out your options. Now, at the same time, I understand that as this archetype who is very much in tune with, your intuition, and it's like you just get this gut reaction about things. I know that you have this way about you of just sort of knowing, like instinctively, oh, this is the thing. I get that. But perhaps at the same time, Libra is just asking for some patience. And Pisces, I feel, is also adding to this story, this patience, this ability to reflect and dive a little bit deeper. Even with Mercury retrograde, that is going to begin from the 1st of April until the 25th of April, and that's going to be in your sign. So we have entered the pre-shadow period, and that is going to still happen then during this eclipse. So there's also something here about just taking your time to look over the necessary information to do with your life path, to do with new approaches, new strategies, your identity, your future. So we're moving on to Taurus now. Let's see. Okay, so Taurus. This bucket shape here is happening in the sky during this eclipse. And basically, the handle of the bucket is in Libra. The lunar eclipse itself is the handle. So that's taking place in your 6th house. And at the same time, the South Node is also there in your 6th house. So the way I'm kind of going at the bucket, I'm trying to share it, is imagine it as if you're carrying the rest of the chart in a bucket, right? So that's a lot of power, that's a lot of strength in this way. And I suppose in this way too, it means that there's just so much going on then for, well, especially in your case, there's a lot going on in the 11th house, the 12th house, the 10th house, the 1st house, right? But still, I think that the moon here being in the 6th house as the handle of the bucket is trying to indicate what is it that is to be let go of when it comes to restoring balance in your life and how that relates to work, how that stuff relates to your everyday tasks and responsibilities. Taurus, this is about the profound changes, the profound releases to do with your everyday and thinking about your schedules, your routines, time management, timekeeping. Thinking also about any remarkable change that comes up with respect to working out or exercise, your health, really thinking about your health here and how you may seek to restore some balance. But it's also about how you let go, right? The lunar eclipse is about letting go. The South Node is also about release and letting go. So this is a lunar eclipse that says, what is holding you back here from feeling somewhat more harmonious and balanced when it comes to your health, when it comes to your body, when it comes to your routines and your everyday rituals. I mean, Taurus, you are such a routine sign. You're a sign who can be very habitual, right? When there is a certain routine to follow, you can be consistent with it. And, Jupiter is still in your sign here. And I think that this is highlighting that, this experience can be quite pleasurable and meaningful to you, especially during this time with the harmonious energy flow to Venus during the lunar eclipse. But still, I think this is also about your needs, right? Your emotional needs, your emotional body. This is about any support that you may be looking for when it comes to work, when it comes to your role, support from coworkers, for example. Thinking also about how it is that you take care of your well-being in this regard. Self-care could also be a big part of this for you, Taurus. So, yeah, these areas I feel are going to be very strong and very potent in your life. So, it's good to pay attention. Maybe this is also looking at a significant closing of a chapter when it comes to this stuff as well. Now, we also want to look here at how Venus, which is the dispositor of the moon, that's in the 11th house. So, maybe this says something about any organizations you're a part of, any significant industries you're a part of. You kind of think about teamwork and networking and just the sort of group involvements that you're with and that you perhaps work for. So, yeah, I feel like this is also speaking to those relationships and your role within those relationships and how much you give and how much you provide. And maybe there is something about um, keeping something for you or recognizing what healthy boundaries need to be established as well. I mean, Venus is also conjunct Saturn in this case. So that's interesting to think about. And then also, we want to think about how the sun is in Aries, and that is within the 12th house during this eclipse. So I feel as if before your birthday, right? So your birthday is going to be coming up after Aries season, but before your season, this is a resting period. This is a period of being able to sort of manage your energy levels, or to become somewhat aware as well of anything that you desire and anything that you really want. But this is also just about your spiritual practices, even just taking some time away from the spotlight, or making sure to move your body, right? And maybe as well processing anger. That could be a big thing for many Taurians during this time period, of just processing your anger. And then we also want to think about how the dispositor of the sun is in Pisces and will just enter Pisces. So maybe there's also something about anger and frustrations and how such matters are tied to the whole corporate organization stuff, like I was saying. But here, it could also be related to friendships, communities that you're a part of. Yeah, there could be some significant changes, emotional changes and shifts that will arise for you during this lunar eclipse. And as well, just even thinking about how sort of devoted you are to certain clubs and groups, and even feeling that connection, feeling a sense of safety in a way, or a sense of like this healing quality too. So, yes, I just wanted to say that for you, Taurus, but do keep in mind as well that the Mercury retrograde is coming up in your 12th house. So, that's going to speak to the part of it where I feel many of you Taurians you'll be journaling, listening to music, being inspired by new visions and new dreams. Gemini. See. Gemini. So for you, Gemini, we see here that the bucket shape is happening, and the handle of the bucket is within your 5th house. And then the south node is also there in the 5th house. So the way I'm sort of describing this is that the handle of the bucket is quite powerful, and it has this holding, supportive energy to it. You sort of imagine it like you're carrying the other planets in a bucket, and yeah, you're essentially holding the handle. So there is this strength to the handle, but perhaps there's also a bit of tension to the handle. So for you, Gemini, this stuff that I'm talking about is related to your romantic relationships, any children you have, any children you would like to have, how it is that you would perhaps like to restore balance when it comes to romantic relationships. I mean, it is an interesting one because, especially in your case here, Gemini, notice how most of the planets, apart from the moon, are in the southern hemisphere. Never eat shredded wheat. Sorry. They're in the southern hemisphere, right? So the southern hemisphere in astrology is so career driven. It's so much about being out there in the public eye. So for many Gemini, it just seems like it's very much work mode, work mode, work mode. And even if it's not necessarily you being in work mode, there's still something about work that is adding pressure. You could be a Gemini, for example, who's on maternity leave, or maybe you're a little sick and you're not as active in terms of work and your career and so on, or just in terms of socializing and being out there in the world. It doesn't just have to be work, but you could be a Gemini in these situations, but there's still this influence, this energy of, oh, there's all this stuff to do, and I've got to do this, and this. So I feel as if in your case, especially with the moon being in the 5th house, it speaks so much to, okay, what needs to budge here? What needs to be taken off a little bit from the scales? What needs to be placed onto the scales when it comes to romantic relationships, making time for romantic relationships, for example, or even here, making time for fun, right? Making time for just enjoyment, pleasure, a bit of you time, Gemini. Can we just say that to all the Geminis at the back? Like a little bit of you time. um, and even if it is that you really, really want to spend your time, with your partner, of course, with Libra being involved, it's still about having that ability to, bring awareness to that, awareness to what you would like to let go of, what needs to kind of be released here in terms of partnership, in terms of creativity, hobbies, enjoyment, play, pleasure. Maybe for you, Gemini, this is about closing a significant chapter here when it comes to these areas so that you can embrace other things, new things, exciting exciting times where it is romantic or it's pleasurable or there is more time to just, right, to be more communicative with partners, or to have time just between you, even thinking about your children, right, spending time with children. So yes, the moon, the eclipse, very much about powerful changes. The south node is also about release. So indeed, for many Gemini, there is a release involved here to do with these areas that I mentioned. And then also, we want to think about how the moon is so much about our needs, and it's about our feelings and how we show care for ourselves and others. So what is it then about children and romantic partners and hobbies and forms of enjoyment, that really make you feel secure? They make you feel really emotionally fulfilled, and maybe something isn't quite aligned in this way for you right now. So it's about addressing these areas, and perhaps changes will just happen anyway. And here's the thing about it too, is Venus will be in the 10th house for you, Gemini. So Venus is the dispositor of the lunar eclipse. So Venus will be in that 10th house arena for you, highlighting, that there is a big focus on building partnerships when it comes to the public, right? Thinking even about you on a public forum, thinking about as well the types of managers or bosses that you work for, thinking about the types of services that you provide to members of the public. So there does seem to be a focus and an enjoyment actually when it comes to these relationships you're building right now, Gemini. I get it. You're building on these relationships, and I think there is an importance of taking your time to sort of give a lot of effort toward them, because you can see the benefits. You can see, okay, this is about the long haul. This is about my future, right? But still, I feel as if there is also an importance of establishing healthy sort of boundaries and knowing your limits too. Now, the other thing I want to mention is the sun. So the sun is in the 11th house for you, Gemini. So I would say that around this lunar eclipse as well, this is where the light is, right? This is where you're going to seek this enjoyment, this childlikeness, this pioneering spirit. And it's going to be within groups, and it's going to be within teams and networking, community, clubs. There's just all of these fascinating things that are going on, for many Gemini at the moment. So there is that. And then even Mars brings it back to the 10th house, and it kind of highlights then the spiritual stuff, or it highlights the ambitious stuff, or this energy of, okay, let's get things moving, and just, yeah, making things happen, but also being fluid and being quite changeable in this regard, knowing how you can sort of adapt and adjust yourself, etc. But still, I feel as if there's still something about the releasing point to do with the moon in Gemini, or to do with the moon in Libra, that touches on karma, justice, balance, being graceful and diplomatic, but also being honest with yourself, about what you really want in terms of grips and clubs. And then even the Mercury retrograde is going to come up soon after this lunar eclipse. So that's going to happen in your 11th house. So could be here for many Gemini, that you're going to be growing your grips. It could be a friendship grip, it could be a club that you're a part of, it could be your networks, it could be a professional thing even. But whatever the case, there's just something here about many Gemini getting in touch with many different people and just taking the time perhaps to reflect on those conversations. Maybe even a past discussion comes up, so a discussion or a conversation from the past comes up, and you'll have an ability to revisit that and to look at it through a lens of, okay, what do I want? How can I be a leader? How can I trailblaze? How can I be a pioneer? Oh, I spent quite a bit of time on you actually there, Gemini. I apologize, but I hope that you find it to be helpful. All right, so we're moving now on to Cancer. So Cancer, there is a bucket shape happening in the sky, and basically the moon is the handle of the bucket, and the moon is your chart ruler. This is a lunar eclipse, so this is going to be significant time changes, significant releases, powerful. The South Node is also involved. Okay, sure, there's not a conjunction, but the South Node's still there. Um, and so there is something about release during this, heavily so, during this full moon. And it's also happening in the 4th house for you. Okay, we're going to get into it. We are going to get into it. Right, so with the bucket, it can feel as if, we're carrying a lot of the energy from the other planets. So imagine it like you're literally carrying a bucket and all of the planets are in the bucket and you have to use force to carry them along. So for you, this is looking at serious activation points and releasing points to do with family. Oh, Cancer. Oh my gosh. This is a lunar eclipse that is going to get you looking at your family dynamics, looking at how you attend to your family's needs, to your own needs, looking at how you nurture your emotions, how you take care of yourself, looking at a balanced lifestyle, how you can establish a more balanced lifestyle when it comes to just your life in general. Because here, notice that all those other planets, apart from the moon, are in the southern hemisphere. Cancer. Like, it's been pretty incredible if you think about it with the astrology, the way it's been, because we have noticed that for all signs, parts of the hemispheres are being activated. This just can indicate a lack of balance. There's just this lack of balance in the skies and the heavens. And it's being felt by the different signs based on where the signs are, in terms of the hemispheres. So it's interesting. Maybe I'll make a video about what it means to have most of your planets in certain hemispheres. But still, for you, Cancer, this is indicating just the amount of energy that is being placed into the public sphere, into your professional lives, into making things happen outside, out there in the world, out there in the world. But the lunar eclipse, oh my gosh, it could feel like this wake up call for many Cancerians, honestly, because this is your chart ruler, right? The moon rules you, Cancer, and this is in Libra, and it's part of a bucket shape, and it's all within this fourth house area. And it's like, do you see this? Right? Wake up to this. This is like really shining a light. Like, this is a full moon shining a big, big, bright light on how you attend to the needs of you and others around you in terms of family, your relatives in this way. Thinking also about property and housing and how you live, wanting to perhaps restore some balance. What can be taken off? What can be placed on so that there can be greater harmony or greater peace or greater cooperation? Maybe there's some relationship issues here, relationship conflict to be resolved, to be really addressed at here, Cancer. Whew, interesting stuff. Now, we also notice that the moon, or rather Venus, my mistake, Venus, which is the dispositor of this eclipse, that's in your 9th house. Okay. Cancer, I feel as if this is indicating how many of you, it's almost like, to me, many Cancers, this is what I'm visualizing. You know how certain crabs, they have their shells, right? And they move to a different shell. I've seen videos of this where the crab will go and live in a different shell. To me, it just seems like many Cancerians are, in a way, hypothetically speaking, picking up their whole lives, packing their whole lives, they're packing it all, and they're moving. They're relocating. They're getting out of there. They're moving away. They're done with that stuff. That's in the past. Don't need it no more, okay? Bye. It's that type of energy. But even when we think about this, because this could also be in an emotional sense too, it doesn't just have to be, where it's about physically, literally. This could be where this is a very emotional experience, right? Pisces, this is a healing experience. This is about cleansing, purifying. This is about making peace with situations, forgiving others for situations, forgiving yourself when it comes to a certain belief system, or even addressing what your beliefs are and how those things are going to be highlighted and very much activated during this lunar eclipse. So there's a lot to be said here about the ways in which you show up in the world and how you branch out, how you embrace new opportunities, how you explore further, how you go beyond. And then we also notice that the sun is in the 10th house during this lunar eclipse. So this big light, we think about the sun to do with purpose, vitality, joy, happiness, this big light, it's like shining. It's shining so brightly on your purpose, on the things that you want out of life, on your ambitions, your accomplishments, your achievements. Just taking some time then, Cancer, to really think about, like, what fulfills me? What do I want? How do I want to be successful? What do I want to be known for? These questions have been repeated and repeated for many Cancerians, as the North Node is in Aries and then Chiron is also there. Whew. So more of this stuff to come during the lunar eclipse, and then Mercury retrograde will happen just a few days later. So this will also be a time period from the 1st until the 25th of April where you're going to question a lot of this stuff to do with your long-term successes, to do with, okay, where am I headed in terms of my future, and what do I really, really want, and what's going to bring me a sense of accomplishment, and are there other goals that I have in mind? Even Mars, then, the dispositor of the sun, that's in Pisces. So I feel like your goals during eclipse season, it's going to be more so about higher education, learning more. It's more about your beliefs and how you can sort of add more spiritual lessons to those, or what comes up in terms of your beliefs, and how it's about your spirituality. They're about your feelings and your sensitivities as well. It could be a very sensitive time for many Cancerians, just sort of getting emotional because of the past, because of memories, right? But it's all part of it, I feel. Okay, so Leo, we're moving on to your sign next. Leo, all right. So this bucket shape is happening in the skies. The way I've been explaining it is, imagine it as if we're carrying all of the planets, well, most of the planets in a bucket. And the handle of the bucket is going to be the most dominant. It's going to be the most powerful. So in this case, this is the moon, right? This is the lunar eclipse. Oh, it's the lunar eclipse. And that's going to be in your third house of things like communication, your neighbors, your siblings, thinking about how you study. And then at the same time as well, this south node is there in Libra. So the lunar eclipse plus the south node in Libra is so much about release, powerful releases, remarkable releases here. And then also notice that most of the other, so all the other planets are pretty much above the horizon. So they're in the southern hemisphere for you. So that for Leos too, there's just such a focus on that of career, your professional lives, your purpose, getting out there in the world, being in the heart of it, making things happen out there, okay? But you see, with the bucket handle being in the third house, I feel this is about how it is that you can restore balance when it comes to your mindset, when it comes to everyday learning. Every day is a school day. It's like you're going to be picking up on this thing over here and that thing over there, this bit of knowledge or this nugget. And it's about how you take in those little bite-sized pieces of information and you go, okay, let me chew that over. Let me think about it. Let me process it. Okay, where are the pros? Where are the cons? Does this work for me? Does it not work for me? Even thinking about these types of discussions and conversations you have with other people. I feel like a lot of Leos, you're trying to make sense of who you really connect with and who you relate to. So I would say there could very well be remarkable shifts for you. And when it comes to these things, but then also asking yourself, what is holding you back, right? What is holding you back from a particular partnership, from a particular relationship that maybe you would actually quite like to indulge in and be a part of? So it's sort of like a lot of Leos are just weighing out their options when it comes to the social aspect of their lives. But then it's also, I feel, about the closing of a chapter, closing of a notable neighborhood chapter, sibling chapter, cousin, thinking just pretty much about your immediate environment and the people that are within it. Certain chapters closing, Leo, okay? And you're perhaps venturing off somewhere else. You're perhaps relocating entirely. Maybe it's your attitudes towards relocating, or it's your attitudes towards your neighbors that's changing. It could be quite an emotional time in this way. Even think about the moon, right? The moon looks at our needs and our feelings. Maybe there are some goodbyes on your part, Leo, in this regard. But we also want to look further at this. We want to think about how Venus, which is the dispositor of the moon, that is in the 8th house. This is heavy. Leo. Leo, why do I feel like I need to give you a hug right now? Why do I feel like that? Because this is what I'm getting from this energy, and I'm just feeling this. I'm getting this energy of you saying goodbye to someone significant, and then there's just so much depth in that, and there's so much sadness in that. Like, I'm gonna really, 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 really miss you. And oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is over, or I'm entering a whole new chapter of my life. Oh, it's heavy. But then perhaps this is also indicating this sort of romanticism, this spiritual essence, the spiritual values that will come up through things that are ending and through transformation and through the rebirths tied to the eighth house in this regard, right? And just even having at the same time holding space for excited feelings, happy, joyous feelings, feelings of like, oh, I'm so grateful to have experienced such a thing with these people, these neighbors, with these cousins, with these siblings of mine. I feel so blessed and I'm so appreciative. And then we also want to think about how this indicates a new form of how you share, of how you combine your resources with others. Maybe even feeling so lucky because of people's good deeds, because of their generosity, because of their kind nature. And then we also look to the sun, which is in the ninth house. So the sun is your chart ruler. So the sun in the ninth house is so much about, oh, you coming alive, Leo, right? The sun is exalted in Aries. So many Leos, it's like, I'm coming out to play. I'm coming up to my birthday season and I'm just so ready for the sun, the heat. I'm so ready to be out there socializing, partying, etc. maybe. But still, this could be this explorative energy, this adventurous energy, venturing off into the unknown, Leo. Woo! This is quite excitable. I feel a very passionate time. And then we also want to think about how Mars, the dispositor of the sun, that is in the eighth house. And so, that could add to some repressed anger, some repressed emotions. That could add to frustrations, which could very well bottle up and bottle up and bottle up, and then you just explode. But maybe that comes about from being maybe overly passive, or maybe not wanting to sort of upset other people or hurt their feelings. Perhaps this is also where the release comes in, to do with the lunar eclipse in Libra a little bit, thinking about any people pleasing tendencies or any codependency tendencies on your part, Leo. But the Mars energy in Pisces, I feel, is going to usher in some spiritual lessons to do with this stuff as well. And then you can kind of, move forward or have a deeper understanding, or where you're asked to be somewhat brave and courageous. Last thing then, Mercury retrograde is going to happen, and that's going to occur in your ninth house. So I feel like many Leos, coming into April during eclipse season, there's this ability of taking a step back and going over what your beliefs are, and how your beliefs are even shared with others, and how you relate to other people in this regard too. And then even just possibly taking on a course, right? Or even adding to your higher education through a course or a program that maybe is tied to the past in some way, right? An old sort of course that maybe you put on the shelf for a while, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm finally ready to learn this. Okay, so we're moving on to Virgo. So Virgo, we notice here, right, there is a bucket shape happening in the sky, which I've been talking about throughout these readings. But to explain it to you, the moon is the handle of the bucket. And this means that the moon is quite a dominant area. It's quite powerful. It holds a lot of power and strength. And try to imagine it as if you're carrying the rest of the planets in this bucket, and it's the moon that is the handle of that. So with the moon is in the second house for you. This lunar eclipse is happening in the second house. And then the south node is also there. So there is something here about releasing, shedding, letting go. Powerful ways of doing these things, by the way. when it comes to a few things, when it comes to how you spend, how you earn, how you save. So much about the financial world is coming through for you, Virgo. And it's about how you can adjust things, right? Imagine the scales to do with Libra. Imagine what you're adding to the scales to make things more level, and imagine what you're taking away from the scales to make things more level. So something needs to be taken away and something needs to be put on. And think about that in terms of finances, in terms of, okay, what are my outgoings? But what am I earning? What's being brought in on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, just depending, of course, on when you get paid in this way. If you are a Virgo and you have many streams of income, trying to just take a while to manage all of that, to go over it all. There could be a major sort of change, a major chapter closing to do with resources. Even thinking as well about your skills and talents. So, skills and talents are also shown through the second house. And Virgo, what you're often quite skilled at is being diplomatic. Virgos actually are very good at seeing both sides of a situation and trying to sort of see, where the truth is, where the truth can be found. And this is a skill that you learn. Okay, it's something that you come to learn and it's something that you come to use within your practices, within your services. And so perhaps this is also a lunar eclipse that is activating this stuff for you. It's activating your skills to do with seeing both sides, weighing out your options, even your skills to do with being quite social, right? To being polite, being well-mannered. Virgos can be really quite good at this, knowing how to sort of come across in a way where there's a level of diplomacy and it's about recognizing, okay, people have different opinions. Let's try and explore that. Let's try and weigh this out. But these matters that I talk about are also tied in with how you earn money. So there could be something here about you letting go of a certain situation to do with these areas, right? Moving on from a certain situation as well. Asking yourself, what is holding me back when it comes to establishing greater harmony and greater balance in my life, when it comes to my finances. Whenever things are not very balanced when it comes to your finances, Virgo, oh my goodness, don't you feel it? It is stressful, it's uncomfortable, it's nerve-wracking. But here's the thing. Voila, voila, voila. Venus, the dispositor of the moon, the eclipse, is in Pisces. It's in the 7th house. What is being ushered in for Virgos? Which, by the way, Pisces is your opposite sign, your sister sign. What is being ushered in for Virgos right now is that of inner faith, trust. Trust the tides. Virgo, trust trust the process. I feel as if many Virgos, especially now, even think about how Saturn has been chilling out in your 7th house for the past year. Many Virgos are coming to terms with implementing their spiritual practices, implementing them in such a way where even whenever it is stressful, when it comes to physical things, Virgo is able to go, hold on a second, why am I stressing about that? Why am I worrying about that? How about I try to focus on a little bit of, okay, this is what I can physically do, and I've tried all I can. I've done my best here. So why should I punish myself? Pisces is saying, oh my goodness, be kind to yourself, Virgo. You're learning this, you're integrating this, you're seeing this, even being reflected through your relationships, through your partnerships right now, Virgo. So this lunar eclipse, I feel, is going to add to this. It's going to add to this sense of forgiveness and this sense of, do you know what? I'm trusting in this flow. I'm going with the flow. I'm welcoming the support of others as well. I'm welcoming other people's views and their feedback. And maybe opening yourself up to new possibilities when it comes to business, when it comes to clients, when it comes to customers, indulging in the imagination a little bit, Virgo. Maybe you don't need to work as hard as you think you do. Now, the sun is also in the 8th house for you, so there does seem to be a lot going on here actually when it comes to the subconscious for Virgos, and this will of course be activated throughout all of Aries season, but this is a lunar eclipse that I feel is really going to heighten a lot of this. There's going to be the intensity of a lot of this. So yeah, the unconscious is really trying to say something about leadership and about your passions and about your drive and how you can make things happen. Even making things happen when it comes to investments, when it comes to combining resources, sharing resources with others, even being very passionate and ambitious when it comes to the healing that's being unfolding for you with respect to unresolved trauma and these, heavier things to do with the 8th house. And then we also notice that Mars, the dispositor of the sun, that's in the 7th house during this lunar eclipse. So that is very much about, okay, how is it that you are taking the lead within partnerships and relationships? But here's the thing, with Mars being in Pisces, this is also about being passive, being a passive leader, leading in such a way where it's not about force, it's not about insisting, it's not even about pushing forward necessarily. Oh, how do I say this? It's about allowing. It's about the whole spiritual thing of just you being that magnet, you being that attractive energy, and then people being drawn to you. It's like, hey, let other people do the work. Let other people come to you, Virgo. You just focus on the creativity, you focus on your imagination, focus on your inspiration, and just let them come. Sink into deep, deep, deep relaxation around this time period, even as Mars continues through the 7th house for you. But especially, I feel, with the lunar eclipse in Libra, it speaks to others, it speaks to other people's support and even your emotional needs, and how you can come from a place of, okay, I'm being gracious, I'm being diplomatic, I'm being fair. But I'm being honest. I'm being honest with myself and I'm being honest with others. And then, of course, lastly, here for you, Virgo, the Mercury retrograde is coming up from the 1st until the 25th of April. So that's going to be in your 8th house. Mercury is your chart ruler. So that will be a good time period for you to just to take time, to go inward and to consider, okay, what is it about leadership? What is it about being courageous and energetic? And what is it about stepping up to the challenge that excites me? And how you will transform when it comes to your mindset, how your mindset is very much related to all of this stuff during this time. Right, so we're moving on to Libra. Okay, Libra. Oh my gosh. Yes, moving on to Libra. So this is a lunar eclipse dedicated to you, Libra. My goodness, look what we have here. All right. So what we've been talking about throughout these horoscopes is the bucket shape. So the bucket, notice how the moon here is in the 1st house for you. It's in your sign. The south node is there. And the bucket is quite a powerful shape in that the handle is strong. The handle is quite dominant. In this case, it's the moon. The moon, of course, looks at our emotional needs, our feelings. It's about support. It's about care. So we see here that there is going to be a significant shift, significant changes and renewals and endings to do with your life path and how it's about restoring balance, how it's about taking space, taking time for yourself, and what you can do to emotionally recharge, what you can do to take care of yourself, to take care of your body. Let's think about it this way, Libra, right? Those other planets are in the Western hemisphere. They're in the Western hemisphere, and that Western hemisphere is so much about others, 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 others. Libra, you are the sign of the other. You are so good at what you do when it comes to relating to others. When it comes to, okay, hey, I agree with what you're saying. Oh, but you know what? I also kind of agree with what you're saying. And you can be very likable in this regard, right? You can sort of be liked by many because you do genuinely see that, hey, I can see it this way. Oh, hey, I can see it that way. And that's great. But I feel as if this is a lunar eclipse that's going to teach you so much about what needs to be taken off and what needs to be placed on to your scales. How you can come from a place of, hey, you know what, I'm really not feeling this. This doesn't suit me. It's not what I want. It doesn't make me feel good. But then at the same time, it's welcoming, oh, this feels great. I want more of this. Yes, there's the pleasure side of it. Let's remember Venus. I mean, Venus rules you, Libra, and Venus is about pleasure. It's about beauty in this way. But that pleasure, that pleasurable side, it says, okay, Libra, you seek pleasure in your life. This, even Jupiter right now is in the 8th house. It's in Taurus. Taurus is also ruled by Venus. There's so much happening for you, Libras, in terms of pleasure transformations, sensuality transformations, relaxation transformations. But it's also about here the part of it where you're recognizing what's not so fitting anymore, what's not so comfortable for you anymore. And I feel as if a lot of Libras are coming to terms with new parts of themselves. They're welcoming other areas, other ways of seeing the world, other ways of coming across. You're really changing and evolving, Libra. And I feel as if a big part of it as well is to do with this North Node in Aries too, of being able to welcome other parts of you that can just be direct, just be open and direct and honest about, hey, you know what, don't feel like that. Okay, go, move on. You know, it's just this ability to be more well-rounded. And I know, Libra, you're all about this. But anyway, this is an eclipse that I feel is going to activate these remarkable changes and shifts, but it's also going to ask you and get you thinking about what's holding you back. What's holding you back from experiencing greater harmony, experiencing greater balance in your life? What can be taken off? What can be added on? And this could be related to friendships, relationships, work, your purpose, your health, your body, pets, whatever you can think of. And then the other thing about it is Venus, which is your chart ruler and also the dispositor of the lunar eclipse, that's in the 6th house. Oh, 6th house activation stuff. So much about the pets and health and wellness. And oh my gosh, many Libras are doing all of the inner work. Like Libra's the sign lately. And it has, you have been this sign with Saturn also transiting your 6th house for the past year. That's very much been ushering in, okay, what can I do to purify my space, to cleanse my space? What can I do to welcome in some healthy spiritual practices on a day-to-day basis, whether this be meditation, yoga, crystals, breath work, getting outside just for a walk, listening to calming music, whatever it is, drinking more water, just making more time for those little things that you do on a day-to-day basis that can be so incredibly healing and cleansing and purifying. And you just want to soak it all up, Libra. Wow. So this is a lunar eclipse, I feel, that's going to point toward a lot of this for you, but it's also going to be a point of release, a point of renewal, a point of change, a point of, this is what I'm getting for Libra during this eclipse. Just like you come in after a long day at work, and you just throw your shoes off, you sit on the sofa, and you're like, oh, I'm so glad to be home, right? But imagine this in terms of what has been accumulating, what has been unfolding for you over a long period of time. And then this is about, okay, time to let it go. Time to let it go. Now, the sun is also in Aries, opposite in the 7th house. So the sun also has something to say about childlikeness, this innocence, this vibrancy, this excitement, this rush of passion, this enthusiasm, inspiration when it comes to things like partnerships, relationships. There is something that you feel actually needs to change, needs to shift, so that there can be more of a direction, a clearer path. Okay, this is blocking the path, right? Move it out of the way, go. It's this sort of go-getter energy, this ambitious energy toward partnerships, towards clients and customers, towards just certain agreements that you make to people. So there's notable changes there too, but then also Mars, the disposer of the sun, back to the 6th house, back to the 6th house stuff. So this is also a lunar eclipse that I feel it's going to get you taking action on the everyday routine matters that I just talked about, but taking action in a more fluid, adaptable, adjustable way. It's maybe even recognizing that you don't have to be consistent necessarily, or you don't have to punish yourself into doing something on a day-to-day basis for it to work. You can also leave a little bit of room for the unknown, for mystery. You can leave room for gentleness and the ability to kind of go, hey, you know what? I surrendered to that. Didn't really work out today. Oh, there's always tomorrow, right? Let's just say overall, Libra, this is a lunar eclipse in your sign, isn't it? So it's very much about balance, karma, justice. But hey, with this being your sign, it's about how you use good judgment. Okay, so Scorpio. So we've been talking about the bucket shape, and the handle of the bucket is very strong, it's very powerful. So I want you to imagine it as if the rest of the planets are being placed into a bucket, and so the handle is the thing that has the most weight, or not weight, sorry, it has the most pressure. So we're carrying this basically. And also, what I want to say about this is the moon is the handle. The moon is the handle of the bucket. And that's in your 12th house. And then the South Node's also in your 12th house. Right. So there's a lot happening for Scorpios on a psychological level, a spiritual level. This is about the behind the scenes stuff, Scorpio. This is about the things people don't see you struggle with. This is about your mental health. This is about even stuff to do with the past, relationships to do with the past that maybe you haven't quite moved on from, or even certain memories, some triggers coming up. The unconscious is trying to tell you something through symbolism, through art, through your dreams, okay? Many Scorpios could very well be dreaming about certain people in their lives, and then there's something that comes true, right? There could also be psychic tendencies that are activated during this time for Scorpios, or this could just be where you're spending a lot of time with your partner alone, right? Realizing that, there's perhaps even something to let go of in this regard, right? There's something about the the balancing act here. There's something here about how there's a lot going on in terms of work. There's a lot going on in terms of your hobbies and business and everything. But maybe the lunar eclipse is pointing toward, hey, the other areas, so thinking about you being alone, you taking time for yourself and for your partner, if you have a partner, that is, of course, um, and just having that time period to reflect, to not really be bothered so much, to retreat for a bit. This is retreating energy. But even if it is that you're so active and you're doing everything else, this is also the ability to be somewhat meditative throughout the day. I'm even kind of learning this within my own life, that you don't necessarily have to sit still in a meditative state to meditate, right? You could just be, and I think I've talked about this before, but you could just be cleaning the dishes and you're just like, yeah, you know, you could just be going for a walk. I've done that a few times. But yeah, you don't have to just be in this stagnant place, this stagnant state to go there. So maybe for many Scorpios, it's addressing these situations, addressing how you can come to a place of calm and real deep relaxation, even if it is that you're being active and you're doing all of these other things on a day to day. Maybe this is also looking at what balance can be restored when it comes to being meditative, right? Thinking about what you're not making time for. Okay. And that could even extend to the whole partnership stuff too, can't it? Where it's just you and your partner and you're making serious time together. It's like, yes, quality time together. Maybe there's just not a lot of that going on for many Scorpios right now. So yeah, restoring balance in that way, restoring balance when it comes to your sleep. Okay, are you not sleeping very well right now? What are your dreams saying? Is it that you're having nightmares? Is it that you're worrying about things? Are you becoming emotional about things? Sleep then could be a big part of it. Maybe it's also linked to family. It's linked to where you live. These things are being activated. They're coming up during this lunar eclipse, I think. So, this is a lunar eclipse then that is so much about, okay, what's holding you back? What doors are closing? What chapters are ending when it comes to all these things? And even thinking about the 12th house and how it is related to our spiritual practices, right? And how maybe you can do something that helps you feel more aligned spiritually, more well-rounded spiritually. Now, Venus is the dispositor of the lunar eclipse, and that's in the 5th house. I think, Scorpio, this speaks to joy, pleasure, entertainment, happiness, freedom. This is about art. This is about your passions. This is about your interests, losing yourself in a song, losing yourself in the feeling. This is about speaking, or just speaking from this place of, I enjoy this, and just being in the moment, right? Being in this artistic flow, this creative flow for many Scorpios. And then another thing about it is the 5th house can look at children. It rules children. So if you have children, maybe this energy speaks to the type of connection and the joy that you experience with your children, and how the lunar eclipse then is going to welcome in, it's going to usher in a shift in perspective, a shift in how you see things, how you do things. And then we also look to the sun. The sun is in the 6th house. So I do think for many Scorpios, there is a focus then on your everyday tasks. It can just sort of feel like there's one thing after the other, and things are just sort of piling up and accumulating. And you're going to notice this more and more as more planets start to enter Aries, right? Throughout Aries season, coming into Taurus season, etc. But yeah, I just think the sun shining a light on all of the everyday stuff. It's highlighting how you can be a leader, how you can be assertive, how you can take charge, even within emergency situations, even within situations where, yeah, it's very urgent and it's calling your attention, There could be some frustrations that come up in this regard, because it could just feel like, oh, you're never catching a break because it's just another. But then even look to Mars. Mars is in Pisces in the fifth. So maybe this is also looking at, okay, how can you maybe come together with a romantic partner as a way to ask for help or some type of support. Maybe this is also looking at what actions are being made when it comes to romance and love in this regard, and how maybe just spending some time in a romantic setting can be really helpful and healing. Or maybe this is also looking at, again, the creativity stuff, maybe just changing things up when it comes to creativity, how you can be in a greater flow. What is it that's even blocking you a little bit when it comes to your creativity? I mean, Saturn has been transiting your fifth house there for a year. So there could be just some changes and strategies that you put in place, which can be helpful. And then that can maybe even encourage you or inspire you when it comes to the everyday stuff. Now, of course, Mercury will be retrograde from the 1st until the 25th of April. So there's going to be significant new discussions, or previous discussions rather, that you'll be revisiting, right? Previous discussions you'll be revisiting when it comes to co-worker relationships and colleagues. Sagittarius. Moving on to you. All right, so Sagittarius, we've been talking about this bucket shape today. So the bucket, see here that the handle of the bucket is the moon, and it's in Libra in your 11th house. The handle of the bucket is quite powerful. It's quite strong. Imagine it like you're carrying the rest of the chart, the rest of the planets in this bucket, and it's the handle that has that strength to it because you're carrying it. So this is a lunar eclipse in your 11th house, and the South Node is there as well. So there seems to be significant chapters coming to a close when it comes to things like community, friendships, networking, teams. Looking at the balance that you would like to restore when it comes to these areas. Thinking also about what's holding you back in relation to these areas. Thinking about even how you relate in social settings, how you share, how you exchange within social settings. Consider this as well in terms of organizations and teams that you're a part of. And just this could be an activation of, oh, there's great clarity. Oh, I can see that more vividly. Things are being illuminated here when it comes to these organizations that I'm a part of. And I can see where I'm coming at it, and I can also see where other people are coming at it. Maybe there's just some discussions to be had in terms of greater harmony and greater balance in your life. What can be put on, what can be taken off, how you can weigh things out in a more healthy way, how you can restore things just in a way where you feel like, yes, you are an effective, important part, but also other people are too, and they know their role equally. Now, we also want to explore Venus. So Venus is the dispositor of the lunar eclipse. That's actually in your 4th house. It's an interesting one for you, Sagittarius, because there's a lot going on for you within the home, within family situations. Even think about how we flipped it here, haven't we? Because I was saying for other signs that most of the planets were in the southern hemisphere. For you, Sagittarius, most of the planets are in the northern hemisphere. So there's a lot going on here in terms of your personal lives, in terms of all the family stuff you got to attend to. There's more of this introspective quality going on, right? But again, back to the 4th house stuff, that speaks so much to family relationships, the kind of energy that's exchanged within family relationships, and maybe even thinking about the healing that's happening there, or the subconscious fears that are coming to the surface, or even thinking about any forgiving situations, what you're forgiving or what you're sort of learning in terms of forgiveness, to do with the past, maybe to do with really like older, outdated connections. Even thinking about people who have passed, right? People who are no longer with us, considering and reflecting upon those relationships and what came up for you. So there could be a lot going on for you, Sagittarius, emotionally, like a lot going on during this lunar eclipse. And maybe this is also where the lunar eclipse itself in the 11th house speaks to the parts, speaks to the balance, the needing to restore balance. I mean, the moon looks at our emotional needs. It's tied to our emotional security and our feelings, and it's tied to seeking support. So maybe for Sagittarians, there's something here about reaching out to friends for support, reaching out to members of the group as a way to say, hey, you know what, like, I actually am struggling right now. Like, I'm finding it hard to cope with everything when it comes to my family, when it comes to the conflicted feelings from everybody. I feel a little bit confused. Things aren't so clear for me right now. It's a lot to carry. It's a lot to manage, right? All the responsibilities happening and piling up here to do with all the family residency stuff for you, all the property stuff for you, Sagittarius. So, yeah, the lunar eclipse could very well invite this support, this caregiving influence of, hey, I'm letting go here. Hey, I'm surrendering a bit here. It's interesting because I feel as if Sagittarius, you're a sign that can feel like you can do it all on your own. I feel like Sagittarius is a sign that you can take on, you can pile it all on, like, oh yes, I want this, I want this, I want this, and I'm inspired by this, and this is an aspiration of mine. But when it all starts to pile on and pile on, I think you do try your best to take it all on yourself and not necessarily um ask for help or support from other people in this way. So maybe this is looking at how the lunar eclipse in Libra is pointing toward a bit of support, sharing, right? The exchange. And the sun is also in Aries in the 5th house. So this is looking actually at the the feelings of joy and aliveness, to do with children, to do with your creativity and your passions and your interests. I feel like many Sagittarians, you are seeking after just more fun and playfulness and enjoyment as well. So maybe this is also a part of what's happening for you. Maybe this is also where it's about allowing for some of that free time and allowing for some of that fun. And then Mars as well is in Pisces in the 4th house, the dispositor of the sun. So maybe this is also looking at just how it is that you can relax a little bit more, how you can more so focus your energy on the things that do feel cleansing and quite healing. I just feel as if for many Sagittarians, you're becoming quite lost in the all of the responsibility stuff and then all of the foggy stuff as well with the Pisces energy and Neptune too. So yeah, I get the sense that for many Sagittarians, it's important to take some time to recharge, to go within, and to put yourself first as well. It could be where it feels like you can't, because this Pisces energy can be so sacrificing. But then maybe this is also where you're learning to establish some healthy boundaries, or even just thinking about how the lunar eclipse is also going to activate that give and take quality as well. Just, it's about that balance again. It's about it's about how you can establish healthy boundaries where your needs are being met, but you also recognize that you have many different commitments and responsibilities to attend to within your home as well. And I say this because Saturn has been transiting your 4th house. since March 2023. And then lastly, Mercury retrograde from the 1st until the 25th of April, Sagittarius. That's going to be interesting for you in terms of, okay, revisiting older conversations with romantic partners. There's a lot to talk about, I should say, for Sagittarius. There's a lot to talk about in terms of what you and your romantic partner want, but then also it's more so about you communicating what you want, what your desires are, right? Because Aries is the individual. So it's trying to sort of get things off your chest, or it's trying to even go inward and think about it, consider what your options are, consider what decisions are to be made when it comes to romantic relationships, when it comes to free time, when it comes to children. Right, so we're moving on to Capricorn now. Capricorn. Right, so we've been talking about this bucket shape in the sky. And for you, the handle of the bucket is in the 10th house. Now, the way I've been describing this for everyone is that imagine it as if you're carrying the rest of the chart in a bucket, and then the handle is the powerful part. The moon then is the dominant part of this chart, and it's looking at the balance that is to be restored. And so for you, Capricorn, balance is being restored when it comes to your public image, when it comes to your reputation, when it comes to how you present yourself on a public forum. I feel as if many Capricorns, you'll be coming to terms with, okay, what is working for me when it comes to the public stuff, when it comes to my professional life and my purpose and my life's work and my life's mission, all the rest of it. But at the same time, what isn't working? What can be changed? How can I adapt? How can I adjust the scales? How are the scales being tipped? What am I even weighing on those scales? Here, Capricorn, very much about practical things, what is useful to you, what's not so useful. This lunar eclipse in Libra is so much about that give and take. It's so much about that sharing, the exchange that's happening between you and the people that you work for, or that you work with, or that you work under, right? So this could be, for example, having that discussion with a boss, with a manager about your pay, about opportunities, about your experience, about your credentials. Or this could be where you're closing a significant chapter to do with your professional life, thinking about what you're moving on from, a certain partnership that's not really doing it for you anymore, perhaps professionally speaking, a certain business that you're trying to weigh things out, and you're like, things aren't working. How do I fix this? How do I restore the harmony, the balance here? So it's how you can use good judgment in this way. And we also want to think about how most of the other planets, well, all of the other planets, are below the horizon, okay? They're in the northern hemisphere. There's a lot going on for you then on a personal level, Capricorn, even just again with Sagittarius, just a lot of the personal stuff here. And that can even feel, I think, very overwhelming. In your case, Capricorn, we've got the fourth house being activated quite a bit with the sun there, the North Node, Chiron, Mercury. So there's a lot to do with the direction of things at home, the direction of things when it comes to your family, your relatives, how you are acting within these relationships, what you want when it comes to where you live, what you want in terms of residency, and maybe having to address a few harsh truths as well. But we also want to look at the dispositor of the lunar eclipse, and that is in the third house. Okay, so this is looking at the types of things that you're learning about, the types of things that you're studying. how these things are related to pleasure and joy and this likability. It's about, okay, am I enjoying this? Does it move me? Do I relate to this? Can I do this for a long period of time? Is it really worth it for me? Saturn, your chart ruler, has been transiting your third house for the past year, and it's been there for long enough, Capricorn, for you to get a feel of, is this really about the long term? Do I see myself committing myself to this particular subject, for instance, or this way of learning, or this way of communicating, or committing myself to a certain neighborhood that I live in? So it's these sort of more mature questions that you're asking yourself, and you're considering as well, your stamina, your perseverance. If there's one sign, Capricorn, who perseveres, it is you. It is you, right? This is the fascinating thing about you. Saturn will move signs every 3 years or so. So every 3 years or so, Capricorn, you enter into this different area of your life, and you're like, okay, well, it's time to get building again. It's time to um look at the strength of my foundations. It's time to consider, okay, this is a delay, this is a setback, this is an obstacle, and then you move, and then you overcome. And maybe you wouldn't have it any other way, Capricorn. You wouldn't have it any other way. But still, back to this lunar eclipse in Libra. This then is about how your foundations and how your responsibilities and what you're building are very much linked in with the ways in which you communicate, the ways in which you socialize, just even on an everyday level. Thinking about the types of conversations you have with people. Also then thinking about, like I said, back to the neighborhood stuff, maybe even your local area, where you live, in this way, the immediate environment that you're a part of. How are things changing there for you? And is it that you feel, maybe with Venus being in the third house during this lunar eclipse, you feel like, hey, I'm supported, this is healing here, I feel settled here, I feel safe. Maybe this is about establishing some type of safety and familiarity and security, right? When it comes to your neighborhood, getting yourself to that point. And at the same time, we want to think about the sun, and that's in the fourth house. So there's a lot of this energy then focusing more so on your emotional needs and how it is that you can, and I don't mean this in a super selfish way, but it's how you can put yourself first. And it's being able to assess, okay, I really do need to put myself first here, because there's a lot going on, maybe. Or maybe it's also about recognizing how, by addressing your own emotional needs, that can help you with the partnership requirements, the leadership requirements with respect to your work, with respect to your career, your public position, these areas. But indeed, it is very much a lunar eclipse of leadership. And of course, letting go is involved. Letting go, moving on from perhaps a certain trajectory, a certain role, a certain position that no longer serves you, for example. And then we also want to think about how Mars, which is the disposer of the sun, that's in the third house. So this is perhaps pointing toward the ability to welcome something new in terms of communication and having that courage, being brave enough. But it's also about being passive and allowing and seeing the possibilities, having the visions, having the dreams, being inspired. Just even take this time, Capricorn, take the eclipse season to sort of go over a lot of this, even just for everyone. It's so important to remember that Mercury is going to be retrograde during eclipse season. And it's going to start, so it's going to be from the 1st of April until the 25th of April. In your case, Capricorn, it's going to be in your 4th house. So it's looking at the reviewing and the reassessing with respect to home stuff, family stuff, residency, your emotional needs, your emotional security, all of that stuff. Thinking about how those things are tied in with leadership and being this like bold character, being an individual, being independent, right? But as I say, for everyone, it's still important to keep in mind that Mercury will be retrograde throughout eclipse season. So I feel as if in this way, it's important to just take our time. Even with all the energy in Pisces, there's still more of the, let me sit with that. Let me go within. Let me look deep within my soul and consider, how am I being guided? Oh, and for you, Capricorn, the intuition speaks very strongly. Aquarius. All right, so we're near the end, everyone. Aquarius. So we have this bucket shape in the sky, Aquarius, and just like Capricorn and Sagittarius, we were talking about how most of the planets are below the horizon. They're in the northern hemisphere. So for you, this is the same thing. A lot is going on for you, Aquarius, within your personal lives. So we see here that the bucket, there's the handle of the bucket, that's the moon. And so that's in your 9th house. So imagine it as if you're carrying all of those other planets in a bucket, and then the moon would be the strong part. So this is going to highlight, especially because this is a lunar eclipse in Libra, very powerful. South Node in Libra, it's also about letting go. The lunar eclipse as well is about a release, but this then is about what types of beliefs are you releasing? Beliefs about judgments that you make within partnerships and relationships. Beliefs tied into the ways in which you show up within partnerships and your attitudes toward them. Thinking about the types of balance you would like to restore when it comes to your relationship beliefs and your relationship views. Thinking as well about higher education, higher learning to do with the 9th house, and maybe there is something else that you would like to learn, or you would like to further yourself, but what needs to be let go of so that you can do that, so you can take that jump, so you can make that leap? Or what is it even here about advanced training? The 9th house looks at advanced training within astrology. So this could be about you just letting go of a view that you have toward advanced training. A certain qualification, for example, that you really want to aim for, that you really want to strive for, and maybe you're trying to intellectualize it and you're trying to sort of justify it or go over it in your head. But maybe this is an eclipse that it's just going to feel like oh, wow, I never thought of it like that. Maybe this could be feedback that you receive from a mentor or a professor. Maybe even some Aquarians, you're finishing up a certain course, right? You're finishing up a certain program and you're graduating, right? This could be university, this could be college. I'm not saying, of course, that you're going to graduate on the exact day, but there's just something about this up ahead. But this could also be about a course, a training program that you've done within your spare time. It's not necessarily connected in with university, but whatever the case, something is ending, right? Something is coming to a close. There is a significant chapter closing when it comes to higher education, even a significant chapter changing when it comes to, or a significant chapter changing and closing when it comes to travel. Your attitudes towards travel, wanting to travel with a partner, maybe even wanting to save for a big trip with your partner, and then there's a renewal there. There's a really sweet shift that comes in. Could be quite pleasing actually in this way, quite fun. But still, we want to look at Venus, don't we? Woo! Because here's the thing. Venus is in the second house, and the second house looks at things like saving and spending and earning and our materials and our possessions, yada, 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 yada. So Venus is in Pisces in the second house, and I feel like this is touching on the amount of wisdom that you're gaining right now, Aquarius, when it comes to materials. And it's not just about the physical material wealth. It's also about recognizing how your inner world has something to say about those matters. I feel like a lot of Aquarians are coming to terms with gratitude and thankfulness and appreciation and counting your blessings, right? The Jupiter even there is in the fourth house for you, and it's making the sextile to Saturn, your chart ruler. Saturn in the second house for you, of course, limitations, delays, setbacks when it comes to your financial world, when it comes to wealth and your income and earnings, etc. But I feel as if with the energy the way it is, it's ushering in this whole new way of viewing things, this whole new blessed way of viewing things. Just even allowing yourself to indulge a little bit in the fantasy world and the make-believe world, right? In your imagination, to sort of go, do you know what? Yeah, I can visualize that. I can see that. I can imagine that. How wonderful would that be? Just a quick little example from my life, right? And it's maybe really silly, but I have the sun in Aquarius. A big dream trip of mine and my partner's is to visit Japan. We want to go to Japan so badly, and I am not letting go of that dream. Let me tell you, I'm not letting go of it. I believe wholeheartedly that it's going to happen one day. So, Aquarius, consider what you're visualizing, what you're dreaming of when it comes to your earnings and your spendings and your resources in this regard, and how such matters may be linked in with a release, with a renewal, with a letting go quality, right? Thinking again about beliefs. What beliefs are holding you back? What old stories are holding you back from gaining the things that you desire? Ooh, ooh. Okay. Also, the sun is in Aries, right? And that's in the third house for you. So this is a lunar eclipse as well. That's going to be it's going to be about the ways in which you are courageous within communication, the ways in which you're brave when it comes to communication, even just feeling quite passionate and enthusiastic and eager about how you get from A to B, and even thinking about the whole commuting stuff and your local area and how things are going there for you, thinking about the city that you're a part of, the town that you're a part of, the neighborhood that you live in, right? There could be some energetic vibrations coming in, right? You're feeling inspired, maybe even for many Aquarians. This is a time period when a lot of creative ideas are flowing, and you're just coming from this place of childlike curiosity, childlike innocence, and you just want to create. And it's a lot of it is to do with the mind. Now, of course, the other thing about it is Mercury retrograde will be from the 1st until the 25th of April. That's going to be in your third house. So that could be a good opportunity for you to revisit these creative ideas that you have. I'll even say another example. I've been doing a lot of reels on Instagram, and I have a big list of reel ideas. And I'm thinking to myself, a good way to strategize with this is to use Mercury retrograde to my benefit and kind of use it as a time to go over a strategy, right? To go over a bit of a plan. What's the game plan when it comes to these creative ideas, and how can I execute them? But then lastly, for you, Aquarius, Mars, which is the dispositor of the sun, and of course, Mercury, that is going to be in Pisces during this lunar eclipse. So that is going to, I feel, that is going to indicate just this sheer determination and ambitious energy that you have when it comes to all of the wealth stuff, the material stuff, the possession stuff, but also thinking about your self-worth and a lot of the healing that's happening there, right? This is also about the inner world. This is also about how you take care of your emotional body and just even putting yourself first, right? And thinking about what your energy levels are. Just, yeah, this could be a lunar eclipse that is going to highlight these areas for you. Okay, so lastly, we've got Pisces. Thank you so much for being here this evening, everyone. I will read through any comments once I've gotten through everybody. Pisces. So Pisces, like I've been saying for everybody, what will happen during the lunar eclipse is the planets will create this bucket shape. So the way I've been communicating this for everyone is imagine it as if most of the planets are in a bucket and the handle of the bucket is very powerful. So in this case, it's the lunar eclipse in Libra is the handle. And so this is quite strong, isn't it? Because lunar eclipses, they are powerful. They're powerful activation points. They point toward the closing of a chapter, which is worth paying attention to. Then the South Node is also there, and that's about release. That's about renewal and letting go. So in your case, Pisces, there's so much here to do with working with the unconscious, working through any unresolved complications and difficulties on your part, and how such things are tied to that of greater balance and harmony in your life. Even thinking about any, and I say this with sensitivity, any certain traumas that have occurred within partnerships and relationships for you, Pisces, even thinking about how it is that you can restore balance with respect to, well, sharing, right? Really, what is the exchange? What is the ways in which you share within partnerships, and how that appears when it comes to combining resources, combining materials and money and earnings with someone else. And this could also be where there are major changes, major shifts happening to do with your own psyche, right? The psychological stuff, the stuff to do with the eighth house that's related to really trying to make sense of why you do the things that you do. And maybe these things then are related to, how do I show up within partnership? How do I relate to other people? What is it about my emotional needs? How can I come across as being diplomatic and fair? But also, how can I be honest about myself, be honest about my own path and my own wants, my own desires as well? And even just taking that time then to really use good judgment, to be able to weigh things out, to be able to kind of think, oh, well, what am I bringing? What's the other person bringing? What can I add on to the situation? What can I take away from the situation? How can I restore that balance? And that may even be a very complex thing, right? The eighth house can be quite complex as a house. And maybe as well, it's about working with the shadow. It's, looking at the shadow work that's occurring there. Maybe as well, there's something about the occult world, paranormal subjects, things like this to do with the eighth house. And so it's also about how it is that you weigh things out within these areas, how it is that you can share in this regard, but what you can also take away, right? What you can take away from other people's feedback and other people's teachings, for instance. There could even be something that's quite finalizing about this in terms of these areas for you, Pisces, right? So it could be quite rewarding, right? It could be quite a rewarding experience for you, especially thinking about how there's a lot of the Aries energy in the second house. The North Node is also there. So perhaps that kind of speaks to, okay, how have you grown in a confident way? How have you really committed yourself and proven yourself in terms of your skills? How have you been a leader? How have you been a warrior in this regard, in terms of your own way of doing things, and just being, I would say, being quite courageous in this regard as well. Let's even think about how the sun is there in Aries in the second house. So the sun is highlighting how during Aries season, you're going to feel quite good about yourself whenever you are being this initiator, whenever you are taking the first step or whenever you are being a trailblazer. I mean, Pisces, it's so fascinating to me that Pisces has Aries in the second, because you are these trailblazers. You are these pioneers when it comes to resources and materials and earnings, even being quite skilled in this way at being pioneering. And the other thing about it is Venus, which is the dispositor of the moon, and then Mars, which is also the dispositor of the sun. Both are in your sign. Da-na-na-na-na. So, wow, how fascinating, how wonderful, how inspirational. It's almost like Pisces, you're a big star during this lunar eclipse. There's just such a focus on you. And I feel as if, as well, there's a lot that's being dreamt up. There's a lot that's being imagined and brought to life as well through the imagination for many Pisces. It's so fascinating to me because Pisces, you are the dreamers of the zodiac. You're the ones who can sort of visualize all of the possibilities, and you can go there. You can really see things so clearly and see it so vividly. You can see the symbols, you can see the art, and I suppose perhaps there are Pisces out there who can view the imaginative world, the imaginary world, in color. Just things can be very vivid. Like, you could get very vivid dreams, for example. You could remember your dreams very well, for example. You can be also very artistic and poetic in the ways in which you come across. There's a rhythm to how you do things. You're so good at recognizing the rhythms and the sort of ways that things flow in life. So all of this is to say that with Saturn transiting your first house right now, and it has been for the past year, and then even with Neptune being a part of it, Neptune is home in your sign. This is where we're noticing all of the visions that you have and that you hold within your psyche just being poured out, like, wow. And then also with Venus and Mars being a part of it, these are also linked in with the way you earn money, with the way you collaborate, with the way you share, right? I can just see this as being a really fascinating time for Pisces around this eclipse. There could be some notable new chapters and closing chapters that are worth paying attention to. And like I said, I think a lot of it is tied to your resources and your personal values, but then other people's resources and their values. And as well, this is within the first house with Venus and Mars. So Venus and Mars in the first then is saying to me that there's a lot that is unfolding when it comes to your life path, your aims, your ambitions, your intentions, the next step, thinking about your identity. Oh, yeah, there could just be miracles being performed for many Pisces around this time. Lastly, though, I do want to say that Mercury retrograde is going to happen from the 1st until the 25th of April. So that's going to happen in your second house. So that could be a useful time for you to go over strategies, to go over what your creative ideas are in terms of money making. That's a possibility. Or to even just take some time to reconsider how it is that you can think as a leader, how you can think as a pioneer, and perhaps even how such things are tied to your self-worth. Right. So that is everybody. Everybody is done. I've done timestamps, which give me a little while to do that. I will do that. And I'm just going to read through comments quickly before I go. I just really wanted to get through everybody, and then I would read through. Right. So, Casey, hello. Good evening to you. Hello, David. I hope you had a lovely birthday. Pisces fam, yes. Josh, hello to you. You are calling in from Georgia. Calling in, I mean viewing from Georgia. Sorry. Creator, hi creator, thank you so much. Yes, click the like button, folks. Thank you so much. Psychic dash tone, hola, hello to you, hello. Astro Shaman, yes, Pernell. Happy birthday, Aries. Happy birthday to Pernell. Wish him a happy birthday, everybody. It's going to be his birthday very soon. And also Brianna, hi, hello to you. Hope you're good. And yes, hello, creator. Did I already say hello to you? I think I did. Hello to Erica again. I think I already said hello to you, but you said the eclipses will help you out. You've got Gemini rising. Okay. Yes. Voyager, hi to you. Arpan, hello to you. And Eddie, hi, welcome. Hello to you. I think I've said hello to everybody. I think if I haven't, I'm sorry, but I do hope I have. Oh, Nima, hi to you. Welcome, hearts. And you said made it all the way to the end and you're going to go back to Aries again. Okay. Well, I hope you find your horoscopes to be helpful. Oh, I don't know, Alexander. I'm not sure of the name of it. Is that the one that I posted on my story and it was all black? It was, oh, it looks so freaking cool. Oh my God. And David, he said, great thoughts for today's stream. Oh, awesome. Cool. Hey, you know what? Thank you so much for being here, everyone. It has been a pleasure reading your horoscopes. It was a good time. I felt really inspired this evening, actually. But just to let you know, Patreon, okay, if you're not following Patreon, what are you doing with your life, right? What are you doing? I'm joking. I'm joking. But really, daily forecasts happen over at Patreon, right? You know, there's a little snippet that you get on YouTube and on Instagram, but for the full thing, you can join Patreon. It's £2 a month. £2 a month to get a forecast every day of your life until the day you die. I'm literally joking. But no, just yeah. I want to say if you're interested in joining the Patreon, you can do so. The link is down below. There's also a behind the scenes video which is coming out tomorrow, and it's going to be a tarot reading about the upcoming spring equinox for all of the signs. I recorded it today, and there's also PDF guides available. Yeah, thank you so much to my patrons for all of your support. Really, I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening, folks. I hope you benefited from your horoscope. And we will see around the eclipse. I mean, did you relate to your horoscope? Thank you for listening. If you want to book a reading with me, you can go to hannahselsewhere.com. And if you really enjoy listening, you can always buy me a coffee. But hey, no pressure. There's never any pressure to do any of these things. If anything, I am just so grateful. I am just so grateful that you're here. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. What if I die before you? Yeah, I'll probably still do the daily forecasts in my grave. In the spirit world. In the spirit world, I'll still do them somehow, some way. But yes, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I appreciate you. Have a lovely Sunday wherever you are in the world. Best of luck during this eclipse. You're going to do great. Eclipse season, bring it on, right? Anyway, I will talk to you all very soon. Have a great week. Bye.